Grainger knows that if you're a school custodian, cleanliness is your top priority. That's why you can rely on Grainger for a range of cleaning products and equipment, from disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The 2026 Chevy Equinox is ready for your daily drives, weekend getaways, and everything in between. Plenty of cargo space, plus a big touchscreen.
Mix up your cat's mealtime with the Meow Mix playlist. Meow Mix has epic soundtracks for cats to jam out to, great eats, and tasty beats. The perfect mix of delicious flavors to help you connect with your cat. Plus, take the remix.
We're starting a little bit late this morning, but hopefully you can hear me. This is Tom Dabertin. It's the morning call on WJOP 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. Little technical difficulty this morning as I am remote, and I apologize for that, but my flight got changed. I went down to Florida for the weekend to see a wonderful air show, celebrate or commemorate the holiday, and trying to get back is not always easy. So hopefully everything is working out now. I see that Lynette is giving me a thumbs up, so I guess that's good news. Lynette, should we start with traffic and weather?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you.
Barely. All right.
Hold on. It may be my headphones. Let's try this. Try that again.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you great now.
Okay.
I think it was on my end.
All right.
All right, let's go to traffic real fast. And looking at traffic in Northwest Indiana, there is a tie-up on northbound Klein Avenue from 8094. Says stop traffic, no real explanation, but says a several minute delay. So be careful if you're headed northbound on Klein Avenue. Otherwise, I-65, the toll road, and 8094 all look good. Going across the line into Illinois, 294 is in good shape. The Bishop Ford starts to back up a little bit as it merges with the Ryan. The Ryan itself is a parking lot now down to the Skyway. Lakeshore Drive's in good shape. There's also some congestion on the Stevenson. And the Eisenhower, remarkably, the Kennedy looks pretty good this morning, which is an oddity, and 294 is in great shape. With that, let's go to weather with Lynette.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 63 degrees with highs of 82 and lows of 56. It's going to be warm with times of clouds and sun. Air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. And then tomorrow on Thursday, we'll be having highs of 72 and lows of 53. It should be partly sunny, breezy, pleasant, and not as warm. Then Friday, we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 58. It should be partly sunny and warmer.
There you have it, traffic and weather. It was an interesting holiday weekend. And of course, first and foremost, Memorial Day is a time to commemorate those who gave their lives for this country. And that's what Memorial Day is really all about. And looks like we have some conversation going on. Lynette, should I keep on talking or? Okay. Can't take phone calls yet. We're working on it, folks. But when you look at Memorial Day, it's really a solemn event, as I mentioned last week, and I think a lot of people basically have kind of demoted it over the years into the kickoff of summer. Not that there's anything wrong with celebrating summer as well. And as I said, I went down to Florida to the Miami Beach Air Show, which is called the greatest show above Earth. It's truly remarkable and amazing. It's a military air show. It doesn't have any civilian acts in it, and does have some pretty unique features, having the B-1 bomber, the B-2 bomber, the B-52 bomber. Usually you don't see bombers in air shows, but you do in Miami Beach. So it was a very nice, enjoyable time. But there were some stories that broke out of the region that were disturbing. First and foremost, there was the shooting involving an Indiana State police officer the other day. The officer was transferred to University of Chicago. As we understand, he is convalescing. A Hammond police officer backed him up, along with two Lake County Sheriff's police officers, and the individual that was stopped opened fire on the state trooper. There was a return of fire, and that individual is now deceased. And it's unfortunate to see any loss of life, but shooting at a police officer is just ridiculous, and it's a horrible near tragedy. The officer was injured. The individual, the perpetrator, lost his life in the process, and that's sad. And then we had some breakout of some disturbances along some of the beaches, including along Walhalla Beach in Whiting. And that's bothersome, obviously for me, because I'm not far from there. But it raises the question. You have these beach disturbances. You also have these takeovers, these teen takeovers in cities like Chicago. And it raises the question of what are parents doing? I mean, if your kids are out at 3 a.m. in Chicago, there's something wrong, and you should be responsible for your children. And if your children go to the beach and it's daytime, or late afternoon or evening, again, you should make sure that your children understand that there are consequences if they get into trouble, they get into a fight. I don't know all the details of the fight on the beach in Whiting, but nonetheless, it's something that normally doesn't happen and should never happen. There shouldn't be fighting on beaches. Again, I was on Miami Beach. Miami Beach was packed to the gills. I believe they said there was over 1 million people in attendance for that air show. You didn't see anybody fighting. You didn't see any problems whatsoever. Why does it have to happen? And so that's a question that just keeps on coming up in my mind as to why these kinds of problems happen. And it should be something that again, we should be able to enjoy our beaches. We should be able to enjoy our summers and not have to worry about teens getting into fights or people getting into fights, and certainly teen takeovers in cities like Chicago. There's no excuse for this. Brandon Johnson, of course, the most clueless mayor in America, says that he knows where his children are at. Well, he's the mayor of Chicago. He should set an example. He refused to sign the ordinance that would have created a curfew in Chicago. The police wanted it. His own superintendent wanted it, and he vetoed it. And now he's paying the price. We're all paying the price. And it makes you not want to go into Chicago. And it's the third largest city in the nation. It's the third largest metropolitan area, which we're part of. And it's something that we can't continue to have. And the good news is that Brandon Johnson is up for election next year. And if the polls are correct, he stands about as much chance of getting reelected as to mayor of Chicago as my dog Sophie does. So I hope and pray that the voters vote him out of office. He has been a disaster for Chicago. I also saw a video that was very interesting over the weekend explaining what's going on with Chicago property taxes. So unlike Indiana, where you're given a maximum amount, and there I see Chuck Pullen working on the system right now, folks. So hopefully we'll be able to resolve the problem shortly. But when you look at Chicago, the way their tax structure works is the city sets a budget, and then they fine the property taxes to support that budget. So it's unlike Indiana, where the state and local government sets a maximum amount that for taxes, and this is the revenue that you have, and then you create a budget around that revenue. In Chicago, they create basically the budget is based on what they want to spend, and then taxpayers are charged with paying for it. Well, the disturbing part of this video is the fact that Chicago has lost a massive amount of tax revenue from the downtown area. And when I say massive, just immense amounts of money. A lot of vacancies I've talked about before, 30% vacancy along North Michigan Avenue. A lot of the office buildings are somewhat vacant, below capacity. And because of that, the tax rate on local properties, on residential properties, has more than doubled. And so you have people who, for example, live in neighborhoods on the south side and the west side of Chicago that are seeing tax bills that are more than doubling in price, increases of 133% in their tax bills. And these are neighborhoods and areas where people can't afford those kinds of increases, and it's causing them to walk away from their property, which once again creates this continuing cycle of problem for Chicago, because now they're not getting the tax revenue from the residential properties. So they go back and they hike the taxes again on the remaining people that are there. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where people at some point can't afford to live in the city of Chicago because the taxes are so out of sight.
Hey, Tom, can I jump in real quick? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. So I think we've got that fixed. Do you want to try taking a quick phone call so we can see if everything's working?
Absolutely. Love to do so.
Okay, let's do that. So why don't we take one of your callers?
Good morning. You're on the air.
Having worked in Chicago for 40 years and have to deal with a lot of Democrats, when you politely raise questions about what the out-of-control taxes, how that will impact Chicago in terms of loss of people who don't want to pay it, the loss of businesses and so forth, and the first thing out of their mouth is, what? Do you want people to starve? Do you want Granny to die because she can't afford her medical care? They start with the endless demands, the bottomless pit demands of government, and they don't. It's, and I'm not talking about ignorant people. I'm talking about educated people. They just you just have to shake your head. But this is an interesting item that I pulled out of the. I get a magazine called Science Focus, produced by the British. And its headline, which country in the world has the lowest cholesterol levels? Would you like to guess?
No, it's not the United States because we eat so much processed food. So I will just take a guess that it's going to be, I'll take a wild guess and say it's somewhere in South America.
South Korea. You got the South right.
South Korea. Okay, well, I got the South part right.
And this is the really interesting thing about this. In fact, despite the fact that we're the homeland of fast food and so forth, the United States is in the category of the lower average of cholesterol. The highest cholesterol levels are Austria and Germany, with Japan, Australia, and Switzerland ranking just below.
Hey, Walt, it's guest producer Chuck here. So, Tom, can you hear him pretty well?
I can hear him great.
Okay.
Everything's going well.
Walt, well, you have our big government to thank for banning trans fats, Walt. That's why we're so healthy now, right?
Maybe.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. When it comes to the health of Americans, I think you can blame government. I think you can blame, obviously, business. We have, and you can even blame medicine. I think we've just gotten it wrong over the years. We wanted things faster, quicker, more convenience, more availability, and we really did this to ourselves. And again, it's kind of like you can laugh, and thank you so much, Chuck, for getting that taken care of. But you can laugh if you want and say, well, you know, um, government has helped create the problem. Certainly Big Agra and the processing of foods has created the problem. But we're part to blame as well. Look at what we seek for um, to eat and to consume. So we're all part of it.
This is another health-related item. It's in the Times, May 26th, and it's headlined, GLP-1s may hinder cancer spread.
Yes, I was going to talk about that. So these drugs that are out there, these GLP-1s, it appears have a very positive side effect, which they help inhibit the growth of certain tumor and cancer cells. And so far, it's been beneficial in protecting individuals from breast cancer and colorectal cancer, as well as kidney and liver cancers. So they're not sure why, but there seems to be a very positive aspect of it. Hey, Walt, listen, because of the problems that we have, we're going to move on. Thank you so much for the call. We're going to move on to some additional callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Tom, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about the delay.
Not a big deal. Tom, where's Bernie Carter?
From the standpoint of what is your point?
Tom, all the riffraff is coming in from Illinois, correct?
So I agree with you there. A lot of it's coming from Illinois, and it's problematic. And part of it is being fueled by the fact that, again, as I said before, the Chicago tax crisis is now causing people to abandon their properties and move elsewhere. And Indiana's cheaper, so a lot of those people are coming here.
Tom, I'll give you a shiny dollar if you can tell me the last time your prosecutor, Bernie Carter, the guy who has made millions in his income, still doesn't have the decency to take off his ball cap when he enters a building. I'll give you that money if you tell me the last time you saw him on the news saying, we're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent when you come in here and cause problems.
I'll say this. I've talked to a number of police officers in the area, and police officers feel that the prosecutor's office has been fairly supportive. So I've not heard a huge outcry. I mean, there are some individuals that bring up some issues. There are some politicians that bring up the fact that Carter's been in office for a long time. But when it comes down to his overall performance, I don't hear a lot of criticism from police officers about Lake County Prosecutor's Office bringing charges against individuals. And your concept is that he should be proactive and he should be out there threatening. I'm not totally sure that is the role of the prosecutor. I think the prosecutor basically has to make clear that he will bring charges when people violate the law, and he does bring charges when they violate the law. But I'm not sure that he should be out there on the airwaves making threats that that if you come to Indiana and you violate the law, we're going to prosecute you. I don't know that that's necessary. I think that's part of a larger issue, which is the police have to do their job, the prosecutor has to do their job, the courts have to do their job. And from what I understand from a lot of individuals, it seems to work in Northwest Indiana.
Tom,
give me some examples. Give me some examples of when it isn't working.
Tom, have you got a LaPorte County Sheriff's Officer paralyzed now because of the riffraff from Illinois?
I don't disagree with you about the problem, but I don't see how Bernie Carter could have prevented that tragedy in LaPorte County. First of all, it's in LaPorte County. And if that's the case, then why didn't the LaPorte County prosecutor issue that same statement? See, I don't think that those statements make a whole lot of difference to criminals. I think what makes a lot of difference to criminals is when they find out that they come to Indiana, they're going to be forced to comply with the law, and they're going to be arrested otherwise. And I think that's the one thing that so far, overall, we've done pretty well in Northwest Indiana. I sit near the state line, and I see the police stopping individuals as soon as they come across the line. They're driving too fast. They're driving erratically. They get stopped. Hammond has, the camera reader system. Whiting has it. Dyer has it. Munster has it. The communities nearest the border have these camera systems, and they stop people constantly who come across the line, who have warrants out, who have issues that allow them to be arrested, and they go after them. They're very aggressive.
So, Tom, you're worried about the violence on the beach because it's close to you.
No, I'm not worried about the violence because it's close to me. My point is that it is close to me. It caused me to notice it, but I think it should be a concern to everyone. I'll tell you what I'm more concerned about, because it is the violence that goes on in Chicago. That worries me, because as it seems to worry you about the spillover effect, that does concern me. But the problem is that the Lake County prosecutor, nor the police, nor anyone else can do much about it until it does come here. And that's the tragic part of the equation when it comes to the continuing implosion, if you will, of the city of Chicago. It's imploding. There's no doubt about it. And as Chicago falls apart, those people move elsewhere, and it spreads those problems elsewhere. And that's what I'm concerned about. So, was the violence, was the fight that broke out at Walhalla Beach, should never happen. Okay. It should never happen. People should be able to go to the beach, go to the park, and enjoy their summers. That's my point. And I don't know if it was directly related to Chicago or not, but it seems like there's some correlation, and it should never be.
So, Tom, you're not going to accept my challenge because you've never seen Bertie Carter on the news taking a stand and telling his prosecutors, we are going to nail these people to the cross. So I don't want to hear any boo-hooing when we see the next officer shot or killed, because it's all a charade from Bernie Carter.
I will reach out to Bernie, and I'm going to ask him to come on my show. And I'm going to let him. I'm going to see if I can get him to come on and address some of the issues that you brought up this morning. How's that? So why don't I invite him? Sorry,
Tom. Tom? He's the highest law enforcement officer in the county, and we've got nothing but baloney from Illinois for the past years. It's pursuit after pursuit after pursuit, and somewhere in there's going to be an innocent family killed, and Bernie Carter is not taking the first step. The Ebonics will travel quickly when they get the word not to come to Indiana and play.
And you think that if Bernie Carter goes on the airwaves and says, if you come to Indiana, we're going to prosecute you, and that's going to solve the problems? Do you really think it's that simple? Because I think that's not going to solve the problem.
Tom? Yes. When Tom Jr. screwed up the first time, did you let it go, or did you yank a knot in his young rear end and say, Tom Jr., don't do that again?
Of course you discipline your children. And once again, but you don't go out and threaten them. I didn't go and threaten my son and constantly threaten him. And what you're talking about is you want the prosecutor to take to the airwaves and make threats to people in advance.
No, Tom.
To me, that
you
yes,
use the word threat.
No, there's a big difference. There's a big difference in what you're saying, and the reality of it. You're saying that you want Bernie Carter. You're upset because Bernie Carter hasn't taken to the airwaves and hasn't issued a threat to people that if they come here and they break the law, they're going to jail. And that's what you want. And my point is that I don't think those threats do a lot of good with a criminal element.
Tom, I never used the word threat. You did. A statement.
Okay, you described it that you wanted him to go on the airwaves. You described that you want him to go on the airwaves, but basically what you want him to say is a threat. I'm sorry, I just disagree with you.
No, it's a promise. I will deal with you accordingly. It's a promise. If you come here wanting to do good, we welcome you with open arms. If you come here to get attention, we will give you attention. You just want to defend Bernie.
No, I want to defend Bernie. Not at all. All right, thanks for the call. You want to take one more call and then we'll go to a break?
Nope.
We're going to go to a break right now. Okay, and I saw your message, so we'll do what you're asking. You're listening to the morning call on WJLB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
When your home needs help, the last thing you need is a faceless corporation or sales-driven franchise. At Myers Companies, we've been proudly local since 1951, born and raised right here in Northwest Indiana. We're family-owned and operated, built on trust, hard work, and integrity. And because we're family, we treat you like family. Your comfort and safety always come first. For HVAC, plumbing, and electrical done right, choose Myers Companies. Local, family-owned, here for your family.
For over 100 years, Roofers Local 26 has been keeping Northwest Indiana dry and safe. Since 1919, our highly trained members have built a reputation for skills, safety, and reliability. With a 4-year apprenticeship and certifications in OSHA safety, first aid, and CPR, we deliver quality you can trust. When you need roofing done right, choose Roofers Local 26, protecting what matters most for over a century. For more information, visit www.roofers26.com.
Introducing Powers Health, a health system with a new name and a strong legacy of caring for families in our community. One with a tradition of advanced specialized services and a vision for the future. One with a commitment to medical excellence and compassionate care. Everything we do, everything we believe, powers health.
Ogren Insurance, Hammond's oldest family-owned independent insurance agency, now in its 3rd generation providing clients in the Chicago area with products from quality insurance companies to handle your every need. Regardless of driving history, Ogren Insurance can find the right coverage for you at competitive prices. To learn more about the insurance solutions and services we offer throughout Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan, call 219-933-0076 or visit our website, ogreninsurance.com. We're located at 6929 Homan Avenue in Hammond, Indiana. Do business locally with someone you know and trust.
Ladies and gentlemen, and listen, what a perfect timing for a break. You're listening to WJOB 1230 M, 104.7 FM in Hammond, Indiana. And this is the morning call with Tom Dabertin. We had a little late start, had some technical problems. Chuck Pullen came in and assisted Lynette, and we're back on. So we'll be here until 8:30, and then the Town of Dyer show will take over. But let's go to traffic and weather and take a quick look and see what's going on this morning. There is a continuing slowdown on northbound Klein Avenue off of 8094. That's the only real issue in Northwest Indiana. Otherwise, 8094, I-65, and the toll road all look pretty decent. I will just point out that there is some work on I-65, so you may want to take a look at that. Going across the line into Illinois, 294 is in good shape. Bishop Ford doesn't look bad. There's a little bit of a slowdown as it merges with I-57 and goes into the Ryan. The Ryan actually has improved dramatically. It was quite a mess half hour ago. It's actually improved quite a bit. The backups now don't start until about 47th into downtown. No surprise, Kennedy is starting to back up. Stevenson's backed up, and so is the Eisenhower. So there you have traffic. Let's talk about weather with Lynette.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're at 60 degrees with highs of 82 and lows of 56. It's going to be warm with times of clouds and sun. And then tomorrow and Thursday, we'll be having highs of 72 and lows of 53. Should be partly sunny, breezy, pleasant, and not as warm. And Friday, we'll be having highs of 80 and lows of 58. Should be partly sunny and warmer.
I just want to point out, Lynette, you're just loving this because you have like total control this morning to make sure that I follow your lead on breaks. But don't get used to that. I'll be back in the studio next week, so it's a little running joke between Lynette and I. We have to reboot the Zoom to make sure that we stay on the air. So when she says it's time for a break, I have no choice but to take that break, or she's disconnecting me. 845-1100 is the number to call, and I think we have some callers waiting, correct? We have 3 callers waiting, so we'll go right to the calls. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yeah, Tom, I got to agree with you. You can't threaten these people. They're born and raised to behave this way. It's their culture. It's like it's embedded in their DNA to act like animals. So, yeah, you can threaten them all you want. That ain't going to work.
What I would like, and I don't care who they are, I would really like to see what Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. Attorney out of Washington, said about these teen takeovers. And, she has announced intentions to go after the parents. And I think you have to go after the parents.
Well, they should.
I mean,
but
if you have juveniles that are acting up and doing these takeovers and causing all these problems, then I think the parents have to be responsible. I'm sorry, but when you become a parent, you have the responsibility for your kids. That's all there is to it. And I realize that in today's society, a lot of people don't think before they have children. But you need to be responsible for your child. And I think that if we want to issue any threats, the threat should be issued to the parents. And we might see some improvement.
Yeah. So speaking about kids, what was your kids' thoughts on the Indianapolis 500?
You know what? My daughter, who goes every year, my son goes. She went, of course, Rachel went with her husband, and my son went with his girlfriend, and they all loved it. And my daughter
awesome.
Thought it was one of the best races, and not just because of the hair, the hairline finish, but she just said that it was just a fantastic time. And I thought maybe it was wearing on her a little bit. She's been to quite a few Indy 500s. And so, Rachel was like, well, I'm going to go, but I don't really care. And then after she went, she was like, Dad, it was fantastic. It was wonderful. It was great. So they had a great time. And usually when you talk to anyone that goes to the Indy 500, they have a great time.
I'm telling you, the beginning of the race was spectacular. They were doing the pace laps, and I look up, and all of a sudden, 2 Black Hawk helicopters are flying 100 foot over my head. I'm like, holy crap! It was wild. It was fun.
What did you think? You were there. I mean, the what a photo finish! What an unbelievable finish, right?
Oh, I've been going to that race for over 30 years, and I've never seen. Well, number one, the pre-race festivities are just phenomenal. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole deal. The flyovers and all that. And the finish of the race, I've never seen the look of shock on people's face when that race, when they came to that finish line. Everybody was just like in shock. It was awesome.
I mean, it was truly remarkable. Obviously, closest finish in history. And as you said, it's such a festive operation. I mean, there are 350,000 people there. There's the snake pit, which is where my kids and a lot of younger patrons go to because they've got all kinds of concerts and entertainment. There's if you're interested in watching for celebrities, there's plenty of those there. And it's just, I guess, an unbelievable time. How long did it take for you to get back afterwards? That's one question that I and a lot of people always wonder. How long did it take?
It was brutal. When we got back to the car, it took us an hour and a half to go 2.4 miles to get to the expressway. And then when we got there, the Indianapolis State Police forced us southbound on 465. So we had to go down and turn around to get headed back northbound. It was a complete nightmare. That's what it was.
My understanding is I-65 wasn't much better.
It sucked. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, by the way, doesn't it seem a little bit odd? But you see a lot of work along I-65 from Indianapolis north, where they've expanded it to 3 lanes in each direction. But the area that needs to be expanded, that to me is the worst area, that area between Remington and Rensselaer, there's been no work to expand that area, and that's where all the accidents occur.
Yeah, it was a rough go on the way home. That's all I know.
I'm glad you had a great time. Like I said, I did talk to my daughter yesterday, and she was still just raving about how wonderful it was. So yeah, it's a great event, no doubt about it.
What a patriotic event too. I mean, the beginning, like I said, the pre-race festivities is probably one of my favorite parts of the whole deal, and just it's America, man. That's all I gotta say.
So to be honest with you, I've never been to the race myself. My brothers have, my kids have. I've never been there, but I do watch the pre-race festivities on television, and then I watch the end. Okay, I cheat, but I do watch the festivities because they are very patriotic and they're very moving. And again, it's without a doubt, one of the biggest events in the nation, certainly the biggest event on Memorial Day, but they capture the meaning of Memorial Day by paying tribute to the armed forces and paying tribute to those who've lost their lives in fighting for our freedom. So they do a very good job in carrying out the mission of the holiday.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, well, have a good show there.
Thank you so much. Thanks for calling. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
How you doing, Tom?
Well, how are you?
Okay. To sort of echo what that prior caller said, Bernie Carter he just can't issue threats toward people. Otherwise, he's going to take risk jeopardizing some of the cases he's got in court. Malice aforethought.
Absolutely. And look, I don't understand the idea that somehow by Bernie Carter taking to the airwaves, and no offense to the caller, he calls often, he has some great points, but I don't think Bernie Carter taking the airwaves and issuing these threats that if you come to Indiana and you violate the law, we're going to prosecute you, is going to cause people to change their mind if they're set on doing something wrong. What I do think changes people's minds is when they see the camera systems, when they see police officers and they hear about arrests. I think that causes people to change their mind. But I don't think
I don't even think
Bernie
that
Carter getting out there.
Yeah, just because you get arrested, what good does it do when you go in one door and come out the other? You know what?
Our courts in Indiana are not turnstiles. Our courts in Indiana have done pretty well. There's not a lot of outcry about our courts being weak or not enforcing the law. I think to the contrary, there you hear lots and lots of stories about Illinois, but you don't hear that from Indiana. Indiana seems to have a pretty good legal system right now when it comes to enforcing the law. And I also will extend that to the federal courts in Indiana. I think they're pretty hard as well.
Tom, do you think these people got the brain power to actually compute that in their noggin? Give me a break. It's what's going on here is nationwide. It's not. They don't even know who Bernie Carter is, nor do they even care. This is decades and decades of indoctrination of people thinking that lawlessness is okay because it's permitted because of God knows what kind of reason they've been told all their life that people have been I don't know, that they just got an excuse to do this, and if you don't see consequences, it's not going to get better on its own. It's only going to get worse. This is going on all up and down. It isn't even going into Michigan. There's beach communities up in Michigan where these kind of things are going on, and it's just that it's been condoned nationwide, not just here. It's going on all across the country. So until something changes to where there's consequences for what people do, real consequences, then it's not going to change. And it's not going to change until we got some politicians in this country that are actually, you got the cojones to actually stand up and do what's right.
But again, here, let me make another point on this whole issue. If you want to buy a home in Indiana or Illinois, they have all kinds of first-time home buyer trainings, right? When you get pregnant, they have Lamaze classes. But where are the parenting classes? Where are the classes to teach people? Maybe that's what we need to do, is teach people how to be parents and accept responsibility. And again, my belief is you hold those parents responsible. You can't hold a parent responsible if the person's 30 years old and they do wrong, but you sure can hold them responsible when they're 12 and 15 and they're starting off in the wrong direction. I think if you hold parents accountable and you say, okay, the child's going to juvenile detention and the parent, you have consequences, I think you'd see a lot of change in the way things are handled these days. I think that we're not putting some responsibility on the parents, and I'm sorry to say that. And I realize parenting is difficult, but you need to hold parents accountable, and we're not.
Well, what's going on in the educational system is just the opposite. They're teaching these people that they've been victimized and that they've got a grievance, and that if they act out on their grievance, it can't be blamed. That's what's going on in our educational system. How do you expect anything to change when you got to deal with things like that?
Good point. I think that we've made education too easy. Everybody gets a passing grade. Everybody gets a certificate. Everybody gets an award. That's not the way it should work. Okay, there are some people that are better at math than I am. There are some people that are better than me at writing. There are people that are better than me at a lot of things. All right, but I always try to do my best. I tried to do my best, and that's what it should be about. Not saying, well, we're going to give you an award just because you showed up. I mean, it's you don't get awards for participation, okay? And the academic system does have a responsibility.
Yeah, this is not an educational system. It's an indoctrination system. It's social engineering to the max by a bunch of left-wing wackos that have taken over academia in our country for better part of 50 years, and they're actually willingly actually putting this in the heads of these young kids, thinking that they could do whatever they want because they've got a grievance, and as far as education itself, I think it's taking a back seat. I don't even know if it's in a car anymore. They could care less about that. You've got kids coming out of high school and that can barely read and write, but yet they all know about grievances. They all know about that. They all got a chip on their shoulder, and it's been given to them.
Good point. Say thanks for the call. We're going to move on. Okay. You've got some additional callers.
All right.
Good morning. You're on the air. Morning.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yeah. You can hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on hold so long I forgot what I was calling for. Jeez, oh, you're from Florida half the time, most of the time. Now, look, you have DeSantis down there.
About 4 or 5 months a year. About 4 or 5 months out of the year. I just came down here though for the weekend and got caught
1 month.
Trying to get back. Go ahead.
I would take 1 month. You have DeSantis down there, the governor, who speaks. He has power. You have, who Judge O'Grady is, right? Judge Grady, our Sheriff Grady in Polk County. You heard him speak?
I have. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? We don't have that here in Lake County. We don't have anybody with authority to get up there and speak and be able to give warnings, and I'm not putting up with this. If you come to Lake County, or even if you live here, let's take Lake County has to take some of the blame and responsibility and stop blaming everything on Illinois. But we need that, and we don't have that. And a lot of these kids are not taught the law. You know, they used to take them in high school and let them go through Lake County Jail in the coroner's office. They stopped that because it was, you know, giving the kids anxiety and all this stuff. But they need to do that stuff. Look at the world now. It's not going to get any better.
Can
But
I
there
ask
is
you,
no
is
authority
that the
here.
role? Hold on, though. Can I ask you, is that the role of government to basically raise our children, or is it the role of parents? I think the biggest problem is that we've passed the responsibility on from parents. Parents have to parent. They have to take responsibility for their kids. They have to be accountable for what their kids do. If your kid does something wrong, then you need to be accountable, and you need to make sure that your kid doesn't do that again. And the problem is, this day and age, is we pass it on to everybody else. We say, well, politicians should speak up, elected officials should speak up, the police should do more, the prosecutor should do more. And my point is, it starts and ends with the parent.
Well, yes, they do, but look at the way the families are. The house is now. There's no father, or there's 2 or 3 fathers that hit that, or 2 or 3, I would say, baby daddies. Don't take it wrong, anyone, but that's what's happening here. I live in Kmart Township. You know, the kids galore are being born, and there's a different father, and the DCFS, they're so fast, you know, there's nowhere to put these children. I didn't raise my kids like this.
But the lack of a parent is not necessarily the problem. I mean, I pointed this out. Look, my mother raised 6 kids by herself because my dad died at a very young age, okay? And she raised 6 kids, and those 6 kids did pretty darn well, maybe excluding myself, but they did extremely well. We all had graduate degrees. Three went into the legal profession. I mean, we were successful because of our mother, and our mother basically worked day and night because her kids were the first priority. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to parenting. This argument that, once again, well, you know, there's only one parent. Well, okay, there's one parent, but, you know, one parent can do an awful lot. My mother did with 6 kids.
Well, that's true. Okay, but they should also, every before a woman gets pregnant, or even in school, even high school, give them a class. Someone come in that knows, you know, parenting, and teach these girls and these guys what parenting is about. And that might say, hey, I don't want any for a while because it's responsibility. It's a big. I raised 4 on my own, just about.
I agree with you there. If you buy a motorcycle, if you buy a car, if you buy a home, we teach you skills. But when it comes to parenting, we don't teach those skills. We teach how to make sure the baby's born healthy, but we don't teach the parenting skills, and we should.
And also, when you give your kid a phone, you've opened that world up that I'm 67. I tried to protect my kids from. Now the kids have phones to shut them up, and they're acceptable to the world. Everything that you try to hide from them is right there at their fingertips. So there's a lot of more problems now than back in our day, which I didn't have a great upbringing anyway, but I tried my best as a parent, and I still had a son that became addicted to drugs. Okay, he's been almost 2 years clean. Now people say it's because of my parenting. No, your kids are going to do things no matter how much you sit on them. And, it's just hard out there. And I don't see any power here. I don't see, especially with the police, I have been treated like crap, okay? I'm the one. I raised my son, but I've only met one officer in the whole time I've lived here in Lake County. And that was Maria Trakovich when she was running for office, that my son hugged. And the other officers that were there were so kind to him. I started crying because that was the first time he'd ever been treated like a person, and also myself. I have been targeted for harboring my son. And it's a shame that it has to be like that. There's no warnings. There's no warnings of anything. And we need that. I mean, like, look at DeSantis, Governor DeSantis. I hear him speaking. He ain't playing. That's like Judge O'Grady. He ain't playing. We don't have any warnings here or anything to be scared of. The kids need to be afraid of something. Not a beating, but this is where you're going if you screw up. And quit blaming it on Lake County. or not Lake County, but Illinois. That's all you hear, Illinois, Illinois. Well, walk around in Gary and tell me that's Illinois. I've had my car stolen and everything.
All right.
You know,
Hey, thank you so much.
responsibility.
Thanks.
Quit blaming
Thank
it
you for
other
the call.
places.
Thank you so much. We're going to take one more caller, and then we're going to go to a break. So we'll take this caller, and then we'll go to a break. Good morning. You're on the air.
Why, good morning, Tom. Always an interesting program. I'll tell you what you guys need over there. You need a Sheriff Joel Pyle like we used to have out here. And you know what? He made it tough for criminals. Tent City. And he got a lot of criticism for that. He was known nationally for one of the toughest sheriffs. And, you know, I think it's sometimes, and I think the other biggest problem, the flip coin is, Tom, is there's kids having kids. That's the biggest problem because you can't even be a kid. How can you be a parent when you're trying to be a kid too? So, you know, at some point, where do you draw the line?
I agree with you. I think that, again, think about it for a minute. Okay. We've made so many mistakes when it comes to the society that we live in today. We've made it easy for kids to get pregnant, but we've made it hard for them to be parents because we don't teach them parenting skills. We don't hold parents responsible. I mean, I appreciate what the last caller was saying, and she's right about Ron DeSantis, and he's a great governor in Florida, and you know, he speaks his mind. But Ron DeSantis isn't the reason why Florida is successful. Florida is successful is because the people that live here comply with the law and have the mindset that that government is not the only equation. You can't put it all on government. You can't put it all on education. You actually have to really start holding parents responsible for some of the things that are going on these days.
Absolutely, because you know what? And sometimes you're right because the parent might only be in their 20s, but you know what? It's like anything else. Like you said, when you have a handgun, when you own a gun, you know what? There's a responsibility that you have to have, and having a child is like pulling the trigger. If you don't stay on top of that kid, keep that kid, and I think a lot of it goes back to, and I hate to throw this out there because I know some people get upset, but you know what? When we grew up, we were all church-going individuals too. Somewhere along the line, we have lost the fact of religion. We have lost respect. When you was a child, and I was a child, you know, we went to church every Sunday. We took care of our neighbors. Those days are, I'm sorry to say it, are gone. There's a small handful of people that probably still follow those earlier traits, but somewhere along the line, we have lost that lack of respect for another human being.
I agree with you there, although there is
whether
some
it's
good
a child
news.
or whether it's an adult.
There is some good news, and that is that you know, there are signs of a return to religion amongst people in their 20s and 30s, and I hope that that's the case. I hope it continues. That the trends show that there is some interest, but I think you're right. I think that the importance of religion, the importance of understanding right from wrong, not just the law, was ingrained into previous generations, and maybe it's not. It's lost its effectiveness and its value in society. But I think it's something that can be rekindled. But once again, when I see these teen takeovers, for example, in Chicago, Steve, five officers were injured by a individual driving a car that drove right into them. Okay. Over the weekend. This is an incident that began at midnight and finally was dispersed at 6 a.m. How is it that teenagers are out at 2 and 3 in the morning? You and I didn't get away with that. I mean, first off, where we grew up, the neighbors, if you somehow snuck out of your house, the neighbors would have caught you. And secondly, if you were out, the police would have brought you right back. You couldn't have gotten away with that. Nowadays, things are different. And I'm sorry, but I think that there has to be some responsibility on parents. You cannot just have kids and then say that they're going to raise themselves. They're not livestock. And we have erred as a society when it comes to instilling the responsibility of being a parent. Look, there's nothing that I did in my life that I'm more proud of than raising my children. My children mean everything to me. Okay. They're my pride and joy, and I don't care what I've done in my life. What I'm most proud of is the fact of what they're doing with their lives. And that's how parenting should be. It should be that all of a sudden your priorities shift from what you want to do to basically what your kids need, what your kids need to do, and making sure that they're successful. And that's part of parenting. And I think that's been lost on too many people. We have this individualistic society that says, well, what's best for me? Well, I'm not going to stay home and cook for my kids. I'm not going to stay home and be with my kids. I'm not going to watch my kids. They have to be responsible for themselves. Now, I still remember a parent whose child turned out to be, unfortunately, has a drug problem and has a number of convictions. And their comment to me was when the child was 11 years old, and you actually know the child as well because you were on the Hammond Fire Department at the time. And this is the individual that used to go to McDonald's and call in false emergencies, including for the fire department, if you remember what I'm talking about. And
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, sir.
Yes. And the parent said, well, I can't be responsible for him. And the child was 11 years old at the time. Really? You can't be responsible? Because I think that's where the legal system should say you are responsible and should have held that person responsible for what they did or didn't do in raising that child. And unfortunately, we've gotten away from that. Go ahead.
I think it's more, like you said, if more parents, if they said, hey, okay, let's say you have home ec class, you have sexual educational classes in high school. You teach these kids, you know what, hey, you're going to have a kid. If your kid does something, if you don't want him to do the time, you're going to do the time because you're responsible for that individual. And I really believe that if more people were incarcerated for what their kid did, I think it would change things a little bit more because, like you said, parenting is a responsibility. Nobody wants that responsibility. Everybody nowadays, it's like, oh, I want to have a baby. But it's the ramifications that go with that, the monetary sum that goes with that. There's so much that has to be in the parent. And I think you're right. Maybe come back in high school. We had biology classes before. They tried to scare you into not even having sex. I think those are the kind of classes they have to bring back and show educational videos of young teen pregnancies, show people's parenting that are in jail because of what their kids have done because they're underage and they can't control their kids. And I think that might just make a child think twice before he does something.
I agree, Steve. I totally agree. Hey, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Listen, if you're on hold, we're going to take a quick break. It's the morning call with Tom Dabertin, and we are coming up right on 7:30. So we're going to take another quick break, and then we'll be right back with your calls.
Summer's coming, and Deep River Water Park is taking applications for all positions. We have jobs both inside and out for all ages that offer great benefits. Free admission on your day off for you and a friend. Free uniforms, paid training, make new friends, flexible scheduling, and more. To apply, just go to deepriverwaterpark.com and you're on your way to a summer of rewarding fun.
Deep River Water Park. It's simply splash-tastic.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
It's the simplest expression. The smallest thing that changes everything. A smile. So easy. A smile lights it up, apologizes, and welcomes unconditionally. Because the shortest distance between two people is a smile.
Thank you.
Strachan Van Til, where making life easier starts with a smile.
Right, we're back, in the shortest distance between two people here is the phone. So give us a call at 845-1100 if you just heard the commercial. You know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you think I'm just like losing my mind here. But we're going to be here for another hour, and then the Town of Dyer show will take over. So give us a call at 845-1100, and I think we have some callers waiting. So let's go to those calls. Good morning,
Tom. Real quick, are you okay with Tom?
Yes,
follow up.
go ahead.
Are you okay with Bernie going on Chicago TV and saying we're holding the parents responsible?
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay, so we'll agree to disagree, but that would be okay with you?
I think for him, again, I'm not disagreeing with your overall point. I think that it's important for the prosecutor and everybody else to be out there sending the message. But my point is that we have to hold parents responsible. And so, sure, if Bernie Carter wants to go on television and say we're going to hold parents responsible, more power to him. And if he wants to go on television and say, if you come to Indiana and you violate the law, we're going to prosecute you, I have no problem with that. My point is that in itself is not going to solve the problem. That the problem is far more complicated and much bigger. And in my mind, a lot of the problem is that we don't have parents that are A, trained to be parents, and B, are held responsible for the actions of their kids. And so that's my only point. I don't think we disagree. I think that we both agree something has to be done. I just don't want to blame the prosecutor for the issue itself, because I think it's more complicated.
And Tom, with all the respect in the world, I say this. I think we'd agree that when your lovely mother, rest her soul, raised you boys, it was a different time than now. And that
it was a different time.
Parental
it was a
ship
different
sailed.
time. It was a different time, and you're absolutely correct. The parental ship has sailed. That I totally agree with you. I think that's a great way to sum up where we're at. And I think we need to get back to that. And I think you probably agree with me that we've got to get back to holding parents accountable. My mother, there was no question. She knew her role. She knew her responsibility. And she was a great parent. And I think there are plenty of people that live today that are parents who just either don't know or don't care on how to be a parent. And that is a problem that society is having to deal with now.
And this is for Paul Goddard. Paul, I don't think you want to use Oscar Martinez as a reference right now in any form. He's not exactly above reproach. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you. 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air. Oh, we lost the caller. So we now have clear phone lines. Is that correct? Okay. So give us a call at 845-1100. Again, don't get me wrong, folks. I'm not putting all the responsibility on parenting, but I'm saying that it's a key component. I do know some individuals who I grew up with who didn't have the best home life and didn't have the best parents, and they still were able to make successes of themselves, and they're great individuals, and they in turn have proven to be great parents. But my point is that parenting is a significant part of the equation, and I have problem with people like Brendan Johnson who blame everybody but the people that need to be blamed when it comes to the problems that we have. Again, if your kid is out at 3 a.m, something's not right. Okay. You should check and make sure that your kid is in bed, that you know where your kid is at, that if he or she is at their friend's house, that they're at a friend's house that you can trust. Those are responsibilities of being a parent. And sure, kids do a lot of fun, crazy things. And it's one thing to do, goofy things. It's another when you become destructive, when you start breaking the law, when you start impeding traffic, when you start fighting with police. Those are things that are not acceptable and should never be acceptable in society. And parents need to instill that in their children to let them know that we're not going to allow our children to do those kinds of things. And I think that's where we're missing as a society, not individually, but as an overall society, we're missing the boat on that. We've got more callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Tom, I agree with the prosecutor saying, you do something wrong, we'll prosecute you. The only problem is he doesn't prosecute anybody, particularly the black kids in the area. And in Chicago, if you're black, you don't get prosecuted for anything. I mean, they're bonded in and out in 2 seconds flat. I mean, look at all the videos of all this stuff going on. It's all black kids. Now, okay, now I'm wrong.
Videos, and I have
it's
to say, you don't
95%.
see. They're not 100%. They're not 100% black kids. Okay.
Yeah, they're not. Okay, 95. I'm GD right. Let's not kid ourselves here. All right. If you're a black kid in this area, you don't get prosecuted for anything unless you murder someone. It's insane. We shouldn't be building data centers. We should be building prisons and stack them in there, 100 per room. And then they're going to go, oh, the conditions are bad. Yeah, don't screw up, and then you don't have to go there. But we're not going to do that. It just doesn't happen anymore. There's no punishment going on here.
Wouldn't we be much better served? Wouldn't we be much better served if we basically imposed responsibility and, even if necessary, training on teens to learn to be decent parents, letting them understand that there are consequences. There are consequences for what they do. As
you can't, these kids don't show up for school. They don't even go to school. You can't pay them to go to school. That moron mayor of Chicago. Yeah, we should give the kids like $100 a week for. Listen, you can put 100 on every desk in the city of Chicago at all those schools. They'll still be sitting there tomorrow because they don't go to school. There's no punishment at all in liberal democratic society. Just look at the tapes. The Chicago News is trying to hide the video.
But shouldn't we be holding people responsible for the consequences of the actions of their children? Yeah, but we don't.
Nobody gets punished. Nobody. You got Brendan, that idiot mayor. There's nothing anybody of color in Chicago could do. Every other word out of his mouth is defending this, defending black Americans. They were slaves. They got bad schools. It's a criminal. Oh my! It never ends.
I agree with the idea of there's too many excuses being added. But once again, we make too many excuses. We have to hold people accountable. We have to hold a series of people accountable, including educators. But we also have to hold parents accountable. We have to. And that's something that we're not doing. And that's my point. We have to hold parents accountable.
Nobody gets punished.
No one gets punished. And so my point is that if your kid does wrong and they're a juvenile, hold the parents responsible. And maybe, just maybe,
put them all in the same prison.
Help improve things.
Keep families together. Yeah. Put the whole family in prison. Put them in for about a week. All of a sudden, they might get the message.
It's easy to say those things, but in reality, you can't just build prisons and just put everybody that doesn't do things the way you want them to into prison. Okay, you and I both understand that you can't.
Well, how's it working? How's it working out so far?
Well, you can't incarcerate.
How's it working out so far?
Well, it's not working very well, but you can't just incarcerate half of society. I think what you need to do is you need to focus on some basic values. And I do think that part of the equation is holding parents accountable for their kids. That I agree with. I think you have to make them accountable.
How are you going to hold them accountable? What are you going to do? Give him a warning, a warning piece of paper? Here, ma'am, here's your warning ticket. Your son broke the windows out of the local Ace Hardware. So here's your warning, and don't ever let it happen again.
I'm not saying giving them warning tickets. I'm saying holding them responsible financially, and if necessary, yes, I do agree that some people might have to be put in jail for being, for the consequences of and the actions of their children. I do agree with that. I think in some extreme cases that is a responsibility. You look at these couple of cases that have occurred in this nation where the parents have actually been charged with a crime when the child has, for example, had access to a gun and gone and shot up a school. That has had some impact. It has caused people to think about the fact that they have responsibility, and I think that those parents should be held accountable. And I think that perhaps holding parents accountable is one part of the equation that hasn't been tried.
Yeah, see, they'll only do it when someone gets murdered. But you carjack, you rob a store, you play that game, and remember what was it, 6-7 years ago? All the black kids were smacking every Jew in the head in New York City. What had happened? I think they had 197 videos of this. Not a single one of those kids spent 1 second in jail. They didn't know what
their parents should have been held accountable.
The excuses never end, man.
I think that you hold parents accountable for the actions of the child, and you hold the child accountable. I think some things could change. I really do.
Yeah, no jail centers, no data centers, more jail centers. I'll pitch in right now. How much you want?
Well, again, I think that it's not as simple as the comments you're making, and you're being facetious, and I get that. But once again, I think you have to hold parents accountable.
I'm not being facetious at all.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. 845-1100 is the number to call. By the way, I do want to mention, I know that some people were a little upset because David Crane, the Republican candidate for Lake County Sheriff, has not appeared on these airwaves. So I want to announce that David Crane is coming on as a guest on, let me just verify that I want to give the right date because I get confused. He'll be on the 10th on my show beginning at 7 a.m. So David Crane has accepted the invitation to come on my show. And he'll be on, and we want to give equal time to him. And of course, Jerry Williams has been on. He's been on my show. He's been on with paid political shows as well. And he was on the other day on another show. So David Crane is going to be given that opportunity, and that'll be coming up on the 10th. Wasn't going to have him on next week, but next week is the first of the month, and there's so many other things going on. As I explained to David, I want to give him the chance to take calls and talk to people and talk about his interest of being sheriff of Lake County. So I want to give him adequate time, and so we agreed on the 10th. So 845-1100 is the number to call, and we've been talking again about the idea of parenting and holding parents accountable for some of the problems that exist right now. And some of the issues, the fights that have been going on, the teen takeovers of cities like Chicago. Those are things that should never occur. Let alone the near tragedy the other day of 5 police officers being hit by a motor vehicle being driven by one of the participants of these teen takeovers. To me, that shows that we've got a problem, folks, that we've missed somewhere. We're not teaching people accountability. We're not teaching teens accountability. We're not holding parents accountable. And those are things that are necessary to have a decent, safe society. I mean, look, I'm not going to go and blame it on one group of individuals or one ethnicity or one race, because I think it exists in across the board these days. I think that we too often hear individuals talk about, well, I have my life to live. I raised my child. They're 8 or 9 years old. Now it's their responsibility. 8 or 9 years old, they're not responsible. 11 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, they're still not responsible. You have to be responsible for what your child is doing. And you got someone pregnant, or you got pregnant, and now you have a responsibility of raising those children. I'm so proud of some of my kids' friends that are having children right now, and hopefully my daughter is not too far off in the next few years of giving me the wonderful opportunity to help raise a grandchild. But the fact is that when I listen to her friends and my son's friends, and they talk about being parents, they're so enthusiastic about doing the right thing, about raising their children. And that's what parenting is all about. Okay. When you become a parent, your agenda first and foremost is driven by being a parent and the responsibility you have for those children. So I do see some positive situations in society, especially amongst my kids' friends. But as a whole, we have too many people who have just decided that parenting isn't their responsibility. That I have to move on with my life, and the elected officials are responsible. Elected officials aren't responsible. They're responsible for raising their own kids. And to say that the prosecutor is responsible to a point, yes, police are responsible, educators are responsible, but parents are responsible. If the kid's not showing to school, parents need to be held responsible, not to come up with some excuse as to why the child doesn't come to school. All right, children need to be in school. And we've made it too easy. We've made it too easy. We've become a society that accepts excuses. You go to work in Illinois. Chicago now has mandatory sick time that employers have to provide for their employees, and they don't have to. The employee doesn't have any responsibility to explain why they had to be off. They can just take time off. It sounds fine. Okay. And I agree with people having a right to have paid time off. I don't see that as a problem, but I do see it as a problem when government just simply says to an employer, you have to give them time off, and you have to give them time off, and you can't ask them why they're off or when they're off, or ask them to give you notice. I think that's a problem. And that's where I disagree with some of the things that we're doing as a society. We try and engineer too many things that don't work out for us. Again, there's that responsibility and that challenge of life. And I think sometimes we make it too easy for too many individuals. So 845-1100. I think we have another caller, so let's try that call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I put you back on. I see you're finally on.
Yes, we are.
When I was raised up, I couldn't get a driver's license and drive till I was 16. I couldn't vote till I was 18. I couldn't legally drink until I was 21. Okay. Most of the problems with this society nowadays is the stupid electronics with the families. Okay. Everywhere I go, I seen last weekend a kid was so crying and bawling because other of his friends, 7, 8 years old, got phones, playing on their phones, not doing activities with other kids, and he's moaning and groaning and crying because he don't have a phone. There should be a limit, an age limit on the parents that, because when my kids lived at home, my policy was you don't get no tattoos on your body as long as you live in my house. When you move out, you can get all the tattoos you want, but you ain't getting none of them. You're not doing it. And our kids, we always kept track of where they were at. And at nighttime, when it got dark, they had to be home. If they didn't get home, guess what? We go pick them up at school. We bring them home. We keep an eye on our kids. But because this society with the electronics lets these young kids, like Jim Delo's grandchildren. Now, is he going to put a limit on their children, their grandchildren? not to have a phone until a certain age. That's the thing with this society nowadays is.
But that'll be up to Jim's. That's up to Jed's daughters. Okay, Jed's daughters have to put those limits. He can't, as the grandparent, put the limit on there.
What is his daughter going to put a limit, or just let the kids have the phone and look at all the stupid stuff that goes into society in this world?
I will tell you what.
Because it's all on the phone. It's all on the media.
I know Jed's daughters, and I will say that Jed's daughters probably are they already are great parents. His daughter is a very good parent, very devoted, and she'll do the right thing. She'll do the right thing. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
regardless of her dad, she'll do the right thing, because I'll tell you what, she had a great mom. So don't forget Alexis. Alexis is part of the equation too, and so she certainly learned from both her parents, but she learned a lot from her mom.
Many years ago, in the wee morning hours, 4 kids stole a car from Illinois, high-speed chase, could have killed people. They were captured in Indiana on US 30 somewhere. I forget. I got to go back. I got the clip from it. I edited it. Okay. Lake County took them to some place, called and made all them parents come out from Illinois to pick up their kids, which is at 1, 2, 3 in the morning or something. Okay. There is the thing right there. There is a curfew. You did not know where your kids are? Put the parents in jail. Punish the parents. Your kid does something wrong. He's underage and supposed to be living at home.
I don't even know, though, you have to put him in jail. But I think if you give him a fine, okay, fines work pretty well. All right, people don't mow their grass. They get a fine. They get a fine.
Fines are not going to work fine. A parent is going to finally realize, oh man, I better keep an eye on my child, or else I'm going to jail, or blah blah blah. Put the parents in jail if they ain't going to control their kids and keep an eye. Because when I lived at home, we had to be home at a certain time. When I was at home, when I talked on the phone was in the front room. My mom and dad heard what we were talking about, watched everything. We got one of our kids, grandkids, when he comes over our house, all the years, as soon as he comes in my house, he sits on the phone, and he sits on my couch and is on that phone, never talks a word, but playing on that stupid phone. And, that's the thing. These kids, young kids, should not have phones because the electronics is disrupting their life. They're not, and the education, the school's education needs to come back to teach these kids sex education, everything. Not let our government let men go in women's sports, and all this stupid stuff and all this idiotic stuff that they're feeding in schools. Go back to teaching the kids an education. Keep them in school. If the parents can't control the children, put the parents in jail. That's all I got to say on that.
Well, again, I think it's more complicated than that. I do agree in the concept of holding parents accountable, but I don't know that putting them all in jail again is going to work either. I think that fines, fining a parent for the actions of your child because your child caused property damage. I think in addition to paying for the repairs or the replacement, I think fining them, I think that's a good start. So, hey, we'll leave it right there. Thanks so much for the call. And sorry you couldn't call earlier. Let's take another break. It's the morning call with Tom Dabertin on WGOB 1230 AM, 104.7 FM. We'll be right back.
It's gold rush time at Albert's. Oh, looky here! Oh, those are gonna fetch a pretty penny.
Well, who's gonna buy them from us?
I'll buy that gold from you.
What did you say?
I said I'll buy that gold from you, and I'll give you top dollar.
That sounds great.
It's Gold Rush time. We will see you at Albers.
Fox Point's free summer Wednesday night concert series kicks off June 3rd with 16 candles. As June heats up, dance to Rico, Boy Band Night, and the Chicago Experience. Then join us for our first free Friday Night Lights concert featuring Fearless, a Taylor Swift tribute, and Beyond the Blonde on June 26th. Fox Point in Lansing, Illinois is just minutes from I-8094 and parking is free. Visit foxpoint.org for our full schedule. That's point with an E, foxpoint.org.
Are you sausage curious?
Who's ready for Polish?
Big Frank Sausage has the very best Polish food in the region.
You had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage?
We have a full bar, dine-in, carry-out, delivery, and catering available.
I've had a mouthful of Big Frank sausage. I've got a mouthful of Big Frank sausage.
219-378-9556. Smacznego i na zdrowie.
Who's ready for Polish?
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Labor's District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Plumbers Local 210 is building the future, and we're looking for service plumbers to join our team. Our training center invests nearly $500,000 every year to make sure our members are the best in the industry. From a 5-year apprenticeship and an associate degree at Ivy Tech to ongoing certifications in safety and new technology, our plumbers are trained for excellence. Every member is drug tested and licensed for your safety and peace of mind. When you need plumbing work done, make sure you ask for the license. It's your right to ask.
Before Notre Dame Federal Credit Union, we were being charged various maintenance fees and various check writing fees for all of our accounts. And with Notre Dame, we don't have that. We have that true community partnership. We get interest based on all of our parish and school accounts, and the interest rate is really second to none.
We've had some cars run into the barrier wall, not paying attention. They were on their phone.
Texting, scrolling. Yeah, it's bad. Most often they be on their phones or they're just not paying attention. They can cause a crash.
We could stand on the side of the road and watch every other vehicle looking down into their lap as they're passing us. You know what they're looking at. They're looking at their phone.
Phones. On their phones, not paying attention. Phones.
I'm not a mathematician, but I say probably about 80% of the people who pass me are on their telephones.
No call, text, or video is worth putting yourself or a road worker in danger. When driving through construction, LIUNA members ask you for your sake and ours.
Slow down, stay off your phone, please. Be aware where we're at, where the cone zones are at.
Stay off your phones and buckle up and drive safe.
We're not asking for much.
This is Brian Short, Business Manager for the Indiana Labor's District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save a life. We're all in this together.
A message from Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
For over 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
All right, folks, we're back, and it's the last half hour of the morning call for this edition. And we do apologize. We did have some problems getting on the air this morning, but we've been on the air since and had a lot of calls. And don't forget, next Wednesday, we'll be back in the studio beginning at 6 a.m. And joining me is going to be John Wilkening from Tech Credit Union. So We'll have a lot of fun and discussion then. But we're taking your calls this morning. But before we do anything else, let's get to traffic and weather. And then I want to give an announcement about a guy that a lot of people in the region know and a fundraiser that's planned for him. So I'm going to cover that in just a minute after we do the traffic and weather. Looking at traffic, still a problem on northbound Klein Avenue near 8094. So be careful there. Otherwise, 8094, I-65, and the toll road all look fine in northwest Indiana. Get across the line into Illinois. 294, safe bet all the way up to O'Hare. No problem this morning. Can't say the same about the Bishop Ford and the Dan Ryan. There's a backup on the Ryan all the way to the Skyway. There is also some congestion where the Bishop Ford meets I-57. The Stevenson, the Eisenhower, and the Kennedy are all problematic this morning. Not a huge surprise. Usually gets that way in summer. But be careful driving out there. So let's go to the weather with Lynette. And we're not going to do the weather with Lynette right now. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to read this announcement. Many of you know the family, the Stravabi family. Tom Stravabi, of course, a Hammond police officer, well known, but a lot of people know Ricky Stravabi. Okay. And he has faced some unimaginable challenges over the last couple of years. He's had some real devastating health problems, which basically has forced him into a wheelchair, and he's having some real difficulty with medical expenses as well. He spent 495 days in various care facilities, and basically was able to return home in this past April. However, his recovery continues, and he now needs daily in-home care as well as transportation to dialysis and some other issues. So they're going to hold a fundraiser for him for Ricky Bundy Stravabi on Saturday, June 20th from 3 to 8 p.m. at the Whiting Knights Columbus Hall, located at 1120 119th Street. That's the corner of 119th and Atchison Avenue in Whiting. It's the fundraiser. The tickets are available at Center Lounge, currently in downtown Whiting. And again, if you know the Stravabi family, and you don't have to be just from Whiting, Robertsdale, or North Hammond to know them, they're a great family. And again, if you can help out Ricky Stravabi in a time of need, it would be very much appreciated. So wanted to get that out there, and I'll have more information next week, and we'll continue to share this information. Also, if you are a resident of 46394, that means you live in Whiting and Robertsdale, the annual UCA flower giveaway is this Saturday starting at 9 a.m. at Ace Hardware. You do have to have proof of residency in 46394, and I will be out there along with others. I know Tom Markovich from the LARC Committee of the Chamber of Commerce will be there. My son Tom will be there, and Rick Mossels will be there. So we'll be handling the giveaway this year. And it's always interesting. It's really a fun time, but we always have a couple of people complain about something. So my son Tom will handle the complaint department as the resident attorney on site. So there you have it. That starts this Saturday at 9 a.m. So pass the word. We have some callers, so let's go to those callers. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just got done watching News Nation, which is the centrist channel established by WGN Channel 9. In any case, they featured Attorney General Rokita from Indiana, and he was talking about a conference he attended at the White House with Vice President Vance dealing with fraud. He noted that the Democrats AGs were invited, but they chose not to attend. And he indicated that, oh, by the way, Rokita is originally from Lake County, Munster.
From Munster, actually. He used to be a member. He was a member of the Whiting Knights of Columbus for a number of years, too.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yes, I know.
He, I first met him when he first ran for Secretary of State, and he was a very quiet, button-down kind of guy. And shall we say he's evolved over the years. I think
he's evolved. He has evolved. His political mannerisms and overall approach have improved dramatically from the time he first ran for office. I agree with you there.
Yep. He was talking about how they were using AI to identify fraud situations, and one of the examples he gave was that a doc was submitting bills for $200 for a urine test, which normally costs $10 to $20. So he made the point that Indiana is fully behind dealing with a horrendous amount of fraud. It's interesting, Democrats, because it tends to be the worst in Democrat-controlled areas, but when they're asked, well, what are you going to do about it? And their reaction is, well, it's everywhere. So yeah, okay, let's clean it up. I mean, if a taxpayer refused to pay the taxes, you'd be on their butt right away. But fraud, everybody's doing it. So it reminds me of, as a kid growing up in East Chicago, when if a kid got out of line and they were asked, well, why did you do that? And the kid would say, well, everybody else was doing it. And right away they'd be on you and say, in other words, if somebody jumped off a cliff, you'd go too. That was very tough. I had from kindergarten on tough school marms, mostly from small town and rural Indiana. They expected our best effort in terms of academics and citizenship. But a sad story.
Not everybody wins. Not everybody has to win an award, right? There is competition when it comes to anything, education, the workplace, life itself. There is a level of competition. We want everybody to have a basic level of sustenance, right? We don't, as a society, really want people to starve. We don't want people to basically not have a roof over their head. But at the same time, just because you have a new color television doesn't mean that I'm entitled to the new color television. And this day and age, I think we've tried to pick up people so that we can improve the lives of some. And in the process, we've given this false narrative that everything has to be fair. Well, life isn't fair. Okay. Life isn't fair. Not everyone is married to a supermodel. Not everyone is going to drive a Rolls Royce. Not everyone is going to own their own airplane. Life isn't fair. And I think we make a mistake when we give this false narrative that everybody's entitled to the same thing. Giving the narrative that everybody has the same opportunity is a different story. That's a different story. If you say, look, you have the same opportunity to become successful that somebody else has enjoyed, I think that's fair. I think to tell people, well, you're entitled to that same level of success is wrong.
Well, when the Democrats talk about equity, what they mean is the person who can't afford a color television set is going to have to get one, thanks to the charity of the government, to make them equal to the person who can afford a color television set. That's what the Democrats mean by equity. It's not you have an equal opportunity to buy a color television set if that's what you want to do. No. You're entitled to that color television set, whether you can afford it or not. But that's Democrats think, and they're very successful at pushing it, and we all end up paying the price. And we have $39 trillion in national debt chasing that insanity. But as a kid, my teachers emphasized competition. They to promote us to do our studies. For example, to. I remember in kindergarten, they had as an exercise to get us to use the dictionary and have a good grasp on the letters of the alphabet and so forth. The teacher would divide up the class into two teams, and there would be a dictionary, two dictionaries, and she would call out a letter, and your job was to pick up the dictionary and turn quickly or estimate where that letter would be. And of course, the kid that had the closest came out closest to the letter that was called out was the winner. So they used competition to spur kids taking their classes seriously. And frankly, when I ended up as a business professor, I went to school on that, and I would have built into the class certain competitive things, and I never had any complaints about it. The students who were most of them, they had to be at least 25 and older. They kind of liked it to have that competitive environment. But there are those who, the Democrats have a history of denigrating excellence in knowledge. For example, they went through a period where they kept smearing the emphasis on math competency as what? Racist. You remember those days?
I remember those claims, and I think again, it's overall, I sit back and I look and I think here I've been fascinated with the American history, especially recently since it's the 250th anniversary, and I look at the past 250 years and I wonder sometimes how much advancement have we actually had. We've had a lot of missteps and we've taken a lot of steps backward over the course of the last 2.5 centuries too. We've done some great things. We outlawed slavery. We gave women the right to vote. We treat women equally. We've done some decent things, but we've done a lot of really stupid things too. We've tried to re-engineer the family. We've tried to basically impose our will where it doesn't belong, both at home and abroad. We've made a lot of mistakes, and I wonder sometimes, if we actually understand that that a lot of our efforts to move forward fail. So I've mentioned this book before. Just finished it up, called A Streak of Luck. It's the biography on Thomas Edison. It's a great book. It's dated. It's out of print right now, so not easy to find. But what you and I thought Thomas Edison was, and the stories we've been told, the reality is that Thomas Edison had more failures than he ever had successes. He really did. But he was driven by the fact that when he had a failure, he could come up with a solution to the failure. All right. He would turn things around. Thomas Edison was an inventor, so he learned by trial and error. And the problem, I think, this day and age is that we fail to realize that sometimes we make mistakes and we've got to fix them. Instead, we're so headstrong that that we're right about this approach that no matter what we do, we're not going to change it. And I think that's another problem that we have with society. We have this idea that everybody has to be treated absolutely equally, that everybody has to have exactly the same, the
outcome,
be entitled to the same outcome exactly. And in the process, we fail to realize that there are differences between you and me and everybody else. And part of society has to include those differences. And not everybody is going to be, is going to win that ribbon and win that trophy at the end of the day. But there are other things that should make them happy. Okay. And I think we've missed out on that as well. So I don't know. It's an interesting time to live. And again, I wouldn't turn the clock back on a lot of things that we've done as a society, but there are some things, especially when it comes to the importance of the family and parenting, I would turn the clock back on that one.
we need to get the Democrats keep pushing the idea because that there's no equal outcome for every group in America. Let's get real about this. In that America does not guarantee the equal outcomes based on for every individual. But the reality is that whatever group that has come to America from wherever they came from, as a group, they ended up doing better in America than had they stayed where they came from. So, I mean, the Irish were looked down upon by certain elements of society. They had signs up saying Irish no longer need apply. But the reality is that as a group, the Irish people are very prominent in politics. And you could go down the list. You have Democrats saying Americans don't know enough about slavery. Well,
Wait a minute.
I learned.
I don't think you can blame the Democrats for all the problems that we have. I think there's plenty of Republicans that also made those mistakes as well. And I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on with that. Hey, thanks for the call. 845-1100. We've got some additional callers. So good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, I just had to call and say again, did you notice that no liberals hardly ever call on Wednesdays, but on Tuesdays, conservatives can't even participate in the show because they don't have a chat board and they don't take calls.
I don't listen on Tuesdays. I'm not responsible for Tuesdays. I'm responsible for Wednesdays. I'm responsible for Wednesdays. And to be very honest with you, Mad Mac, my approach is the reason why I like Wednesday is Wednesday's in the middle of the week, right? So my view is that this show has to be middle of the road. It has to be open to your views, and it has to be open to George's views. It has to be open to MX's views, and it has to be open to Trucker Mike's views. It has to represent anybody and everybody. And so I'm glad that we get a lot of calls. We certainly have a plethora of calls, and that's great. But at the same time, for me to judge somebody else's performance, that's not my responsibility. I just enjoy the fact that this show is very popular and that we get a lot of wonderful callers and a lot of people who like to listen and who don't always agree with everything I say, and I don't always agree with everything they say, including you and I. But I do like the fact that we get a chance to talk, and that's what talk radio is all about. So I enjoy that.
Now I've got to go look up the word plethora. But hey, the Michael Jackson movie, by the way, still fantastic.
I'll tell you what. I heard
You didn't see it yet?
I heard an online. No, I have not. I actually thought I was going to be back yesterday, and I'm coming back today, so I'll probably maybe see it this weekend. But I have to say, I've heard others say that it's a really good movie and that it's worth seeing. So it's something on my list of things to do.
I'll tell you what's bugging me. The movie called Tuner about a kid with a very hearing disability thing. It has nothing to do with being, special needs and that kind of stuff. It's your traditional, movie. It's not trying to, pull your heartstrings and that kind of stuff. But Dustin Hoffman is also in it. It came out May 22nd, but it's not in any of the AMC theaters around here. And I'm dying to see it. I think it's going to be good. I don't get it, though. Released on the 22nd, normally they'll have it in one theater for a day or two prior to its official release. And then it comes out on the 22nd, and it hasn't been in the AMC movie theaters or even that one in Portage for not a single showing yet. I don't get it.
I have not heard anything about it. I will say this, and I just saw that Jed sat down. Jed's going to fill in for a few minutes for Lynette. Bruner. I did finally see the movie Roofman, and
what
have
movie?
to say, the movie Roofman.
Oh my God! Don't even. You're going to tell me you like that?
Well, I'll tell you what I liked about it is when I went and read the story online about this Jeffrey Manchester and the fact that 90% of that movie was not fabricated, that's actually a true story. And right down to the
Right, I
fact
wouldn't go
that many of
90% though.
well, actually, it is. And in fact, most of the support cast, the people in the movie, did you realize that those were actually the police officers that really arrested Jeffrey Manchester? The crossing guard was the ex-girlfriend played by Kirsten Dunst in the movie. That the producer and director actually brought the people that Jeffrey Manchester had interacted with in his life. He brought them into the movie, and there is a great deal of accuracy in that movie. The only thing there's only two major issues. One is that he lived in Toys R Us, but he also had broken in and spent part of the day working out in a vacant Circuit City next door. And there was one other element that I can't remember now, looking it up, but I watched it the other day. I remember Jed saying it was a good movie. So, I get my movie critiques and my movie ideas from you and Jed Dietelo. I mean, what's wrong with me? I think I need to have my head examined. That's for sure. When I'm getting my
you need to pick one and stick with one.
All right. Hey, thanks for the phone call. We appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye, Jimmy.
There you go. Hey, thanks, Mad Mac. But you know what? I went and saw the movie, Jed. Or didn't see it. I saw it on television. But that was actually, you said back about a year ago, that was a pretty good movie, and it was a good movie. I enjoyed it.
So, what do you watch your movies on a year late, or what?
Well, it was just one of those movies that I meant to see it, and I never got the chance, and then I saw it pop up and said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll watch it." It was on Netflix, and I watched the darn thing. It wasn't bad. And what was really interesting is I'm one of those people, because like everybody else, I sit there with my phone now, so I wonder like how much of this is fabricated, how much is true. And so I pulled up a couple of sites that talked about how accurate that movie really was in portraying Jeffrey Manchester, the guy that used to break into McDonald's and other buildings through the roof. And it ends up that it was quite accurate. And I was really shocked. I mean, some of the story seems to be a little bit out there, a little extreme, and hard to believe, but sometimes life is hard to believe.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tom. Hey, just so everybody knows, I'm kind of like the fill-in host or fill-in producer, and we had a producer that had to go somewhere. So I was called out of my trance at the kitchen table and brought down here. But I know that you did a great job filling in without able to take phone calls for all that time. And I got the text from pulling. Oh, somebody, the cord was plugged into the wrong mixer or something like that. So I do apologize that you just had to talk for an hour and a half.
Well, it worked out, and you know what? I apologize too. I didn't originally plan to not be there in person this morning, so my apologies. But
it's odd that we might as well address that right now. Is that like this today? I have two podcasts from my kitchen table, and one of those is What Makes the Cow Guy Cry, and then I have another one. I forget what it is, but it's the weirdest technology, Tom, in that it's actually easier for them to go back and cut up your show and post it on social media and do podcasts and so forth if you're at home. So here, they got to take it. They got to take the whole file, and if you're at home, you get the computer saves your whole feed, and then it would save my whole feed, and then it cuts back and forth, and then it fixes the audio. So just so everybody knows, we're starting a lot of podcasts right now. There, if you want to tell your story for your business or organization, now's the time, because we're getting to the point where we're almost, we're kind of at limit right now. We just signed up 2 yesterday, and they're almost all going to be online like yours is right now. You got a little echo from, I don't know where you're sitting in the bathroom with a green screen behind you. Shouldn't sit in the bathtub anymore, okay?
Tell you what, as soon as the great news is the town of Dyer is coming up in about 5 minutes. And that's really great because as soon as they come up, I've got to basically put my shoes on, grab my bag, and get out the door and get on the plane to get back. But I thought that you would actually come in this morning and comment about when the one caller called in and was talking about your daughter. I think it was Trucker Mike who was talking about your daughter raising your grandkids. And he said, is Jim going to control his grandkids and the use of their phone? And I said, no. I said, that's going to be his daughter and her responsibility as a parent, not Jim as a grandparent. And he said, well, how will she know? And I said, because she has a great mother. Because her mother did a great job raising her. So I thought you would come in and say, hey, Tom, thanks for the compliment on your parenting skills, because there's an implied comment there, but I thought you'd catch it and you didn't hear it. So
yeah, it's odd that you say that because let's see, they put in some new equipment. Here I am. Sorry, guys. But that entire generation is, I talk to other grandparents that babysit like I do, and I do, that's kind of part of my, I work maybe 2/3, and then the other 2/3 is watching kids and being a grandpa nanny. So I get to meet other ones, and they all say the same thing. They're like, wow, my kid, my daughter, my son, the couple, they don't want any screen time. They don't want any phone time. They don't want any TV. They don't want any laptop time. And it is very much a movement in say the 25 to 40 age group where people, they just don't want the kids on the phone. And there was a huge study last week where it said, hey, a kid 0 to 18 months should never look at a screen. And you know what? I kind of agree in a weird way.
I think that there's some hope for the future of this country because, as I've said many times before, our generation, the baby boomers, kind of screwed up a lot of things in this country. But one thing I guess we did pretty well is we raised good kids, because when I look at that age group, that, as you said, the 25 to 40 age range, those kids are basically doing a really good job of setting parameters and taking responsibility in raising their kids. So maybe there's some hope for this country in the future.
How about just kind of being pissed off at how we ran things and what we're leaving them right now? I think there's a decent amount of anger right now, to be honest with you.
Every time my son Tom comes on, he sat in a couple of weeks ago, and once again, he thanked me and thanked you and everybody else for the $38 trillion deficit that they've inherited now. So, yeah, I think they are pissed off. I think they look at us and say, you guys did a lot of damage. I mean, you did some good things, but you did a lot of damage. The baby boomers didn't live up to the expectations that I think the world had for us. But, hey, you know what? It looks like I'm out of time. And I'm going to turn things back over to you. It's fun to talk to you in person or distant, but it's always great to talk to listeners and to host the morning call. And we're going to do it once again next week, beginning at 6 a.m. on WJOB 1230 AM and 104.7 FM. So keep it tuned right here all day, all week to the voice of the region. And I will see you next Wednesday morning, bright and early at 6 a.m. Have a great week, folks. And coming up next is the Town of Dyer Show. Take care.
Thanks a lot, Tom. As always, thank you for doing what you do, man. You allow me to get some work done, and believe me, it's definitely necessary. I'll see ya. All right, I am going to end this and get him off of there, and meeting for all. There it is. And then I'm right here with you guys in the studio. Just so everybody knows, I am the fill-in host and producer. We lost a guy to ESPN that was supposed to be that guy, and he leaves on Monday for Connecticut. And I want to just check in with you two guys. How you doing?
Wonderful. Excellent. Are we on?
You're on. I'm talking to you. Can you answer me, Bob?
I could answer you.
All right. Well, the reason I want you to keep talking is so I could figure out which microphone you're on. All right.
Okay.
What's up next? What's up next?
Town of Dyer show's next. We're going to be talking about how we were ranked number one best place to live for the 5th year in a row. We're going to talk about our upcoming Summerfest and park things, summer things.
All right, and who's with you?
Dave Hine, town manager.
Dave, how long you been with the town?
Good morning. Been with town since 1991 in some capacity or other.
All right, and why, did you grow up there?
I did. Moved 3 times and I'm still there.
All right, so keep talking, will you, please?
No problem. 1991, I started as a volunteer fireman in the town of Dyer as a young 18, 19-year-old kid.
All right, man. You did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Great times.
Yeah, you did that, and then
I'm doing some testing right now. It's been a while since I produced. Can you move that microphone over to your left and point it a little bit on the edge so that when you looked at him, you're not leaving the microphone? Or go the other way with the mic. Yeah, there you go. Right. Something like that. And can you do the same? I know that you're very versed in studios and so forth.
Hi, Dave. You're listening to
This is not
Bob
a morning show, Jed. This seems like a late night show here.
Hey, listen, I just want to bring something up before I hand it over to you guys. I'm going to have to take a break and then reset. But I want to announce that we signed up Fox Point in Lansing.
Yes, Michelle told me that.
Yes, Michelle, formerly Velez.
Yes.
Michelle Henderson, who is kind of an event planner and in social media
I think
stuff.
That's what she does over at Fox Point. We've used her several times in Dyer. The first time we moved to Summerfest, and I think Justin Gerbic, our park director, is using her for our summer concert series this year in Dyer.
Yes, and we met, and she mentioned that. So she may be a regular with you guys on Monday mornings for like 5 minutes or 7 minutes to tell what all of the stuff. You know, before we go on, and I'll hand it off to you guys. But your Dyer is done. Or how long before the new facility is done?
So our event, our big inaugural weekend is Summerfest on June 11th. It will be functional by then. Some of the internal operations in the back of it won't be working, but we plan to have an entire festival out there with. I think we've got about a dozen bands, and so it's going to be good.
It's a big, yeah. I mean, and I was just, I was thinking of it. We went over and talked to him in Lansing, and I didn't realize how many really cool things there are to do in such a kind of a small triangle. If you really look at it,
Fox Point, yeah.
No, I mean, there's Fox Point, there's you and Dyer, there's Munster has a place, obviously. And Highland has Central Park, and then you go into Hammond, and they have, the PAV and all of that. Wicker Park is there for the Thursday night things. I mean, if you can't find something to do in the region in the summertime, man, you ain't looking.
Right. There's so much. I mean, really, to hype up the region, throughout the summer, several nights a week, there's places to go and eat and listen to live music. I mean, it's really a nice place. A nice place to live. We took several tours of Fox Point. JMA Architects out of Cherville, I think they're the ones who designed Fox Point, and they designed Parkside Pavilion over for us in Central Park. And what I like to tease Michelle about is JMA took everything they did at Fox Point and all of the lessons they learned, and they integrated them into our Parkside Pavilion. So I'm really excited for it. It really is like a monolith that just stands in the middle of Central Park. It's
really cool. I mean, you could drive down Hatchet Road over there and find it or look over there and see it. I'm sure that the first weekend, though, the sound's going to be good. Nobody's going to plug the wrong thing into the wrong mixer.
No. So a side note here. I don't know if you knew this. Do you know who's doing all of our sound?
I do.
Oh, Mr. Chuck Pullen. And we've got a few other folks, but we did bring Chuck in because I hate to say this because I hate to inflate his ego. He really is one of the experts in the region for doing that audio video stuff. And
he's an expert in video.
Yeah.